why buyer agent compensation changes everything in California in just 3 to 4 minutes. One, buyer agent compensation is no longer the listing agent's money. It is now part of a third-party contract between the buyer and the buyer's agent, and then they check a box on the CAR forms, the California Association of Realtor form, G3, which is a third-party beneficiary clause, and it can ask for 2.5% or 3% of your seller's money. What this did is, if you understand the class action suits, the risks that realtors had and their brokerages had of offering buyer agent compensation have just been transferred to the seller. It's not like they erased them and this process is wonderful. If you read the second memo to the No Select V PIN case by the DOJ, they were very concerned. They're like, it's still here. This hasn't solved anything. It's just broken the negotiation out from the listing agent with the seller for all 6% to just breaking it out into two parts. But because buyer's agents have to get their buyer to agree to the amount of money before they even show a home, it's still there. Now, and the risks that the DOJ brought up of steering and compromising the fiduciary duty of the buyer's agent and commission fixing and keeping prices high and inconsistent offers to buyers and who, if they're protected classes, will result in like FHA concerns and maybe discrimination suits. It's all still there. Realtors aren't licensed to counsel on it. They certainly can't mitigate the risks. And when you think about when that box G3 comes over, the buyer agent, all they have, because all their forms were removed, they're not authorized in writing, they're not authorized to negotiate, they're not authorized, they have no authorization. All they can legally do is net it out and say how much the buyer agent cost will cost them, but they're still being asked to respond on a blank form, a set of blank lines for them to write things in the counteroffer. It's absurd because, first of all, you would never, if you're an attorney, advise your client to respond in these little lines. You'd say, yeah, maybe we could just change the price and term of the home and maybe the closing date, but buyer agent compensation, we need to break that out into a separate contract because it'll give you leverage. It'll help you sell for more. It'll maybe help you even increase the price of your home. Plus, you can mitigate these risks by having the seller acknowledge that the money going to being paid to the buyer's agent is coming out of their pocket, and they could have sought a price reduction instead. And some other waivers and some acknowledgments could be put in, and they could be done at the seller's behest after being counseled about the risks and how best to mitigate them without blowing up the deal. I mean, these are things attorneys can do. These are things realtors cannot. So realtors are not selling the home for the most money. They're not helping their seller sell the home for the highest net. And every time they allow a seller to pay buyer agent commission, they've either breached their fiduciary duty, practiced law without a license, and probably sold their clients' homes for less. Attorneys, you can't unring that bell. Now, the good news is there's so much high-value work for attorneys to do. You should not be settling for $2,000 contract review or risking violations and criminal problems by getting big kickbacks. I mean, all the money and the work in the world there is now for you, and you could, I'd say, at least $10,000 worth of work and up to 50% of the listing agent's commissions. So my name's John McConnin. I'm a broker and an attorney. I sold over 200 homes. I know how important real lawyers really are to these transactions, and now it's inevitable. So go to listingattorney.com to learn more. Thank you.